Welcome everybody. We are here at Rob's MetalWorks headquarters this evening for a very, very special night. We welcome a legendary name here to the home studio, one of our very own from right here in the Alamo City. Brings me great pleasure to welcome guitarist Art Villarreal from S.A. Slayer and KARION. Art, how are you doing? Thank you for coming over to the MetalWorks.
Thanks for having me here, Rob. Good to see you.
It definitely is an exciting time because there's some things to talk about with KARION, but we will eventually get there. I want to talk a little bit about the history, your long history in metal here in San Antonio. People out there, even from a generation, later than mine, saw you perform with S.A. Slayer. We were talking at Randy's and the Cameo. Those bands that came out of that era like Watchtower and Juggernaut. I mean, when you think about that time and that era, what do you like to remember most about what was happening in San Antonio at that time, of which you were an integral part of?
The crowds, the following, they were amazing. We had an amazing scene here back then. The venues were great. Of course, we had the old Via Fontana, the Cameo, the showcase we just mentioned a while ago. And in Up 35 in Austin, they had, they're pretty good stout crowd up there too. And we played the Ritz, or I think maybe sometimes the Continental was open back then to some metal shows. And yeah, definitely first and foremost, what I remember are the crowds, the fans. I mean, it was an awesome scene. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Really good times.
You and people who know out there, I mean, you've been around even since before, even like when Metallica really brought metal to a national scene. You initially started your career in '80 with Blitzkrieg, then moved on to S.A. Slayer, and then eventually moved on to KARION. I think when people think about S.A. Slayer, especially because of the people who came out of that band, like yourself and Don Van Stavern and Dave, and then eventually your departure from S.A. Slayer. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, when you think about your departure from S.A. Slayer, and as renowned as the band is now, did you think at that time, geez, we're releasing, Prepare to Die EP, and that EP's gonna live on in the anodes of San Antonio and Texas metal? Did you ever think that would be the case?
Well, I knew we had something really special and something really unique, but to the popularity that it's reached with the underground metal scene overseas, and having that Prepare to Die EP regarded as something legendary, I never expected that back then. I was an 18-year-old kid. But I knew it was a hot item, but right after I left is when it started blowing up for them. And no, I mean, it's just amazing to see what that vinyl, what that copy goes for, and how popular it is. Even the CD units are going for a pretty good penny now. So yeah, when I see them around priced at what they're priced at, it's really surprising. And when I dig around online and I see the EP regarded as something legendary, classic, rare, hard to find, never would have imagined that. And it's just I'm still amazed at how it got so popular, because I think we only initially printed 1,000 units, and how that spread out all over the world is that's a mystery to me. It's great, I mean, even our moving forward to KARION for a second, I get feedback from guys in Italy and Greece, and they tell me back when they were trading our demo tapes. I have no idea how our demo tapes got over there. It's fantastic. It's awesome to hear it. But yeah, I never would have expected that.
Do you keep in touch with any of those guys? Do you still talk to them even now, or in the past few years? Have you stayed in touch with any of them?
Slayer guys? Well, Bob, I see Bob all the time. Yeah, we're playing tomorrow night. Yeah. Don, I see him now and again. We threw back a few shots tequila about a month or two ago when he was in town. I think he's living in Fort Worth. And Dave, not so much. I mean, on Facebook a little bit. He was really nice enough to give me some passes for Machine Head when last time they came through. So I went and checked him out there. And you know, he's just incredible now. He's always been great.
So when you left Slayer, obviously, you know, you still wanted to keep active. So shortly thereafter, in '83, around '83, you formed KARION. What was your vision at that time for KARION? How did you want to kind of, you know, obviously as the leader of that band, how did you want to kind of portray, or what did you want to bring to the fans with KARION that you weren't doing in your previous bands?
Well, going into a four-piece was different, but I knew I wanted to do being a four-piece, and you know, I had Pete Perez on bass, and so there was a different approach for me, because now I have this bass player who has this phenomenal technique, and so I was used to playing in a five-piece, a twin guitar lineup, and playing a lot of unison leads with Bob and that kind of thing, and I thought, well, why don't I try it with a bass player? And we really did set out, to answer your question, we really did set out to kind of set ourselves apart from the pack. We wanted to have a different sound and a different approach, with image and with lyrics too, with song content, and Chris, I think, really did a good job with the lyrics. He wrote all the lyrics, and I handled all the instrumentation, except for Against All Flags. Pete and Chris handled that. They had that already completed in the band they were in prior to that. But yeah, we just really wanted to try something different. We want to try something different. I wouldn't say we were a very technical band, but we were, you know, we had some technical prowess, I'd like to think, but we really wanted to place our focus on songwriting, you know, and the songs. And,
so when you were as KARION, how many actual recordings were there? I mean, I think I know just that, you know, there was one demo recording, but were there actually were those songs all recorded at one time? So it was one demo, or did you actually record different songs at different times? Tell us a little bit about that. I think people want to get some clarity on that.
Wow. Well, I think we recorded the basic tracks over. I don't think we did all the basic tracks in one shot. It was all at the same studio, within the same week or two, and then the dubs came in over the next several weeks. So I think we were able to knock it all out within 4 to 6 weeks. You know, with you know, just going in our spare time. Not our spare time really, but I think the studio engineer's time, because he wasn't open all the time, so we had to work around his schedule. But so there's one track that didn't make it on the demo. We recorded it, but it kind of came out sounding strange, and I don't have them. I never got the master. That was on a separate master, so I couldn't go back and correct it. All I had were some cassette copies. Okay. I really wish it was a great song, but it's on the video. We played it live. That's sure. Silent Fury. Okay. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the new release that's out. And before we get there, you know, there were many legendary shows that you guys played as KARION. When we talked a little bit about the venues that you played, legendary venues. Some of them are like Randy's is still kicking even in this day and age.
Last year I saw Loudness there. It was a blast from the past.
So it's bizarre, but when you think about the actual gig, like the lineup of bands, and you think about not only the performance and the crowd, but maybe the after party and the camaraderie, what show would you say, or what two shows, or what do you, when you think about that, like, oh God, that night was like a memorable night? What night is that?
Stands out. Well, a couple of them.
Okay, share them.
You just mentioned Randy's. We played there once, and we were playing there. That was, I think, our first headline show. We got a call from I forget the promoter's name, Mark Solis, and Omni Productions, and I hadn't met him yet. Got a random call from him. I guess he'd heard a buzz about us and wanted to stick us on a bill with some newer bands. So we went there and set up and everything, and we saw these unfamiliar names. So these other band names I hadn't recognized. So that's when I kind of started realizing, hey, things are starting to blow up around here. There are these new bands coming out, and that was, I think, early 1984. That's kind of a big venue.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty stout crowd that night. You know, for us at the time, about 400, 500 people maybe.
That's a big show.
That's a pretty big show,
Yeah.
and you know, it just really went well. It was just our first headline show, so that sticks out. You know, and I'd always gone to Randy's when it was Cardi's, and I used to see these national bands pull through and watch them there. So it was kind of, you know, it was kind of monumental for me in a way to play there, you know. And at the Ritz Theater, the Ritz to me was just this magical place. I loved Austin. When I was about 16, I lived there for about a year, and I really loved the city. But you know, finding out there was a metal scene up there with Watchtower and those guys, and Militia and all of them, you know, that was pretty cool, isn't it, to find out. And playing at the Ritz with that one time was Slayer and Militia. We were in the middle slot. Just a great crowd, man. I mean, they had punk rockers, you know, mixed in with the metal heads, and they had that back balcony. It was just full, and it was just a great scene, you know, and had a great buzz to it. Another one that sticks out is when we played with the Watchtower at the Cameo. We did the Cameo a couple of times, but this one time, we were playing right before Watchtower, and I don't know why I just remember this all the time, but I just do. But we had a couple of hecklers for some reason, and I never found out who they were, and you know, we left and we finished our set. Great crowd again, of course, the Cameo. And then Jason came out and he had a few choice words for these two little weenie guys that were causing a problem, and I guess scared them out of the building. They eventually left, and he actually got the crowd to start chanting that they suck. It was really pretty funny. But yeah, that was a cool moment in local metal. But you know what? To me, that kind of really exemplified the camaraderie the bands had.
Right.
You know, Laurent from Snake Pit Magazine asked me, was there a rivalry between the bands? Couldn't have been more opposite. You know, all the bands went to each other's shows, and there was really deep support, especially between the Austin and San Antonio bands. We really loved to go watch each other play and crash at each other's places and whatnot. And no rivalry whatsoever. It was just a lot of strong camaraderie. But yeah, I guess those three stand out the most. And also maybe our last show at the Fontana, of course.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you that because your last show at the Fontana was in 1986. Talk a little bit about the demise of KARION, why that was the final show, and then secondly, why did you decide just to like move on from the music scene?
Well, that show actually was promoted. A friend of mine wanted to promote a show, and he wanted us to involve. So I helped him get that show together with Wizard, and that was actually a year after KARION had pretty much already broken up. So we had one rehearsal prior to that show, and we hadn't played together in a year or so. And we introduced a new song at that show, and that's the only time we'd ever played it. So it's really fortunate that someone caught that on video. It's the last song of the set. It was Pray of the Game. I'd forgotten all about it when I dug up this old footage, and I'm trying to remember the parts of the songs, and that song, I'm thinking the whole set's over, and then we come back out and we play Pray of the Game. It was like hearing a new band and a new song. I absolutely did not recognize it at all. It took me the whole time through hearing the song. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. You know, so that was the only time we played it. It's a great song. But that Fontana show was awesome. I mean, we got to close out the Fontana. I mean, you know, that's really something special. I wish it had stayed up for a while, but you know, it didn't. As far as the demise of the band, like I said, we had already pretty much broken up before that. That was supposed to be just kind of a one-off show. I wanted to go further, and as I remember, Chris Kronk did as well. I think Pete had some other plans going on.
And was Frank always a permanent member of the band? Was he there all the way through?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember how Frank showed up, honestly. I don't remember if I think he called me or someone gave me his number, or one of our mutual friends got us together. But I remember a phone conversation, and then we went to go check him out at this place we rehearsed at over here off Woodlawn. And you know, we had been looking for drummers for a while. We were getting kind of frustrated. You know, and back then, you know, you had to have a double kick drummer if you wanted to play a metal band right here. And for some reason, that was just a rarity at the time, you know. And someone in your own age group, too. You know, we had some older guys that played the club scene and stuff, played the cover sets and all that. Right. You know, we weren't going to do that kind of thing. And so we had to have a double kick drummer. Frank showed up, and he blew us away. And he was amazing, you know. But he had some pretty big shoes to fill. I mean, I had been playing with a great drummer before, just before that with Dave McClain, and I was playing with the hottest ticket in town. So, you know, I wouldn't say I was really reluctant to bring him in, but I was just like, you know, okay, well, let's just hang on a second. Pete and Chris were really excited about him. I loved the guy; he was awesome. But you know, it took me like a day to figure it out. Let's just get him. You know, let's just get him. Yeah. So he was there from the onset. He was a great band member. Okay. Yeah, he provided the video for me. Fortunately, all the way from Houston, he sent me the video. Yeah, so I'm glad I found him.
So mention for the people out there why you kind of, after the demise of KARION, you just moved on and to other parts of your life.
Shadows.
Yeah. Why did you lose interest in? And I don't know. I don't want to say playing music because I don't know maybe if you played at home or, you know, still.
It didn't exactly happen that way. I mean, I had long stretches where I would play. I was always trying to put something together, but I could never really find the talent that I felt was up to the bar.
So you would have put another band together if you would have found?
I did make several attempts. I mean, and I stayed pretty active playing. I remember going out to L.A. and I hooked up with Pete for a little while too when he was in another band, just looking for stuff. Well, I think what really happened, what really affected me, was the change of how the rock music scene changed, and metal kind of took a back seat to the glam scene that came in the mid '80s, late '80s. I wasn't going to get into that. I wasn't doing that. So even locally, by trying to find any personnel, they were already caught up into that kind of thing, and I didn't want to have any part of that. Right. So things changed. You know, I didn't really change so much, but that did. But late '80s, I did meet Rhett Forrester, so that's when I was starting to be active again for a little while. Okay. So we hooked up and played in that band for a little while. We even moved to Houston for a bit and rehearsed a set out there. We just never got to take off on a tour.
Let's talk about one of the primary reasons we wanted to talk about and resurface KARION in discussions, and that is this past March you released a kind of, I guess, refurbished or remastered versions of the old KARION demos. And for all you people out there in the world who have not yet seen it, it is called Iron Shadows. It's out there. You can definitely buy it online. Be sure to look for it. Let's talk a little bit about this offering. First of all, and the cool thing I love about this art is that you didn't just like say, hey, I'm going to clean up these demos and get them out to the public. I'm also going to include some very classic footage of the band performing, which, some of that stuff's really hard to find even in this day and age. So talk a little bit about first, what can fans expect to find on Iron Shadows when they get it in their hands?
Well, a summary, a little piece of history, from at least from my memory, of the Texas metal scene, and some pretty good audio on the video. It doesn't sound bad at all. I've had all kinds of good compliments about it. The demo itself, the 6-track demo, they can expect just the straight stuff, raw demo material. Nothing's been doctored or anything. We did remaster it. But
those are the original recordings?
Those are original recordings, no punch-ins, no re-recordings, nothing at all. Everything's pure on it. Everything's raw. And, of course, my liner notes, like
That's
I
what
said.
I was going to mention. These are the very cool liner notes from Art, so you can get a really good feel for what he was feeling regarding his career in KARION and what this demo's offering.
I start up right around 83. and kind of take us back a little bit to the pre-Slayer, which is Blitzkrieg days, and our influences there, and what influenced me to play, and what influenced me to play metal, and my background with that, my influences, and how I met Pete and the guys, and how we put the band together, and in several different shows. I take us through a couple of different shows and summarize those. So yeah, it's kind of a cool little trip down memory lane from that scene back then.
And Art, is this CD? I mean, it's actually getting worldwide distribution. Did you actually locate a deal for the distribution and production, mass production of Iron Shadows, or how did you manage that?
The label is Cameo Fontana, and actually I named it that as per a suggestion of a friend that's helping me with some PR. His name's Chris Liebengut, and he's in California, and he's really helped me out from the onset of making this. This has been in the works for a few years now, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
So I had to wait to put pictures together. I had to wait for the video to get worked out. But no, this is all independent, and I'm distributing it directly to I'm sending it to other distros in Germany and to Greece, primarily in some Sweden and Switzerland, France and Italy, and counting, hopefully more. But yeah, it's basically direct from me to the distros.
I mean, that's
to the metal fans.
You can easily do it in this day and age, so it's awesome. When you got the idea to release Iron Shadows, did you feel like, oh, I need to get Pete and Chris Kronk involved in this project, or is this just something that you wanted to do because you had these recordings? And I guess obviously once they realized you were doing this, I would assume that they were excited and happy about it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I hadn't been in touch with them. Chris heard. I'd already started working on it for a while, and then Chris Kronk contacted me about it. But I pretty much just started it on my own. A friend of mine, an ex-girlfriend of mine actually, who I mentioned in the liner notes. I told her the history kind of the old scene, and when she went back home, she contacted me one time and said, "Hey, Art, I've found a bunch of stuff online about you. You were in that Slayer band and whatnot." And I said, "I don't think that's about me. I think there's another one. There's a California band, the one that blew up." I said, "No, my sister found a bunch of stuff online about all these threads about you and whatnot, and Slayer and SA Slayer and that whole thing. I really didn't know about it." So I started poking around online, and I didn't know there was all this interest. I didn't know that the Prepared EPs and the Go for the Throat ones were going for exorbitant amounts of money. So that kind of really piqued my interest. I remembered I had the reel-to-reel KARION demo out, literally just tucked away somewhere in a storage box. Mm-hmm. So I thought, wow, you know what? I never got that demo out. We should have gotten it out a long time ago. I can do it now. Let's just do it now. Fortunately, my good friend Bob Dog Catlin, as everybody knows him here from Juggernaut and SA Slayer and Pigface, happened to have a half-inch tape machine sitting around at the time. So he was able to do the conversion for me up to digital. So that was just dumb luck, because he didn't have it after that. He only had it for a few weeks at his store. So yeah, just he uploaded it for me, and he took it. Yeah, he took over the audio from there, and that's what started it all. After that, I started poking around, digging around, trying to get old pictures, and back and forth with Frank, in Houston, trying to get the video. He was able to finally transfer the video to digital for me and mail it over to me. So yeah.
Now that it's all digital, it's going to last forever and ever. You know that.
Oh yeah, man. That's finally. Yeah, I'm glad I got it out to that format finally.
Awesome. Now let's talk about. I want to clear something up because once people found out that I was doing this interview with you, I started getting a lot of inquiries, and there's obviously a lot of fans out there who remember you from back in the day. I got an email today from this fan on my Rob's page who was saying, "Oh, tell Art that we miss him, and thank God he put this out." Her name's Gloria Gutierrez. Gloria, she's a huge fan. Scott from Texas Metal Underground as well was emailing me, asking me like, dude, you gotta find out, are the rumors of a KARION reunion or doing just a couple of shows, how real is that?
Very real. Just 2 nights ago, I was talking to Phil Lachey, the drummer from Militia, and we were talking about that exact same thing, about setting up some shows here and perhaps in Austin. And we're thinking
shows in
San Antonio and Austin.
Okay.
Maybe just a couple of them. In fact, earlier today, I don't think we're going to be able to find our old drummer Frank. I haven't talked to him in a while, but
Yeah.
if you're out there, Frank, you got to give us a call because someone's going to take your spot.
Exactly.
But yeah.
But Chris and Pete would definitely be part of it.
Chris and Pete, as far as I know, to this point, yeah.
I see Pete out on the scene at, at those bars where they just go impromptu jams and stuff. He's out there.
He plays every weekend. But yeah, I approached him about it a while back, and he's up for it. And I know Chris has always been very enthusiastic about KARION. And we probably have a drummer lined up for it. Actually, the drummer I'll be playing with tomorrow night, and I were talking about the KARION stuff today, and I think we might go ahead and work with Chip on that one. He's been very interested in this for a while. He's a fantastic drummer, so it's totally feasible.
When do you anticipate that these shows might happen, or when would you like for them to happen?
Oh, I would say realistic time frame. Before the end of the year, maybe October, November. Yeah.
Nothing better than fall metal shows.
Oh man, and leather and
Wear your leather jackets and your blue jean vests.
yeah, man, yeah, and your flask and your all that good stuff.
So if people are specifically Art Villarreal fans, you're keeping yourself busy. It's great to know that you're out there continuing to play guitar. You were telling me off camera about your Motorhead cover band called Martyrhead. People look for it. You're playing tomorrow with Jason McMaster's Broken Teeth. Talk a little bit about Martyrhead. How long have you been doing that, and things like that?
About 3 years now. Bob called me up.
That's right, with Bob Catlin.
Yeah, with Bob Catlin, former SA Slayer Bob Catlin, and Juggernaut and Pigface, and I don't know what else he did, but he called me up and literally just said, "Art, would you like to do a Motorhead tribute?" And before he even finished the sentence, I said, "Yeah, of course, man, let's do it." So we picked up a couple of guys from around town. Andy Barris, who played with a band of note back in the '90s here. I think they were called World Bazaar. And then Chip. Chip. Why am I not remembering your last name? Chip Alexander. Drummer, a fantastic drummer. Actually, Chris Lawson was the first drummer for that band. Chris played with us in Pettingsley. I don't know if you remember that band from around here back when. But and then Chip came in. We've been playing with Chip for a while. So we've been together for 3 years, and it's just a band we do for fun. We've played in Austin a few times. A couple of times with Jason up there with one of his 20 bands here, and then San Angelo, I think we did a date up there, and in San Antonio we played a good number of times in San Antonio already at a couple of the smaller joints around here. But it's a lot of fun. But we cover the fast Motorhead stuff, the early Ace of Spades and earlier was most of the set, and it's a good chance for us to just turn up loud and play some good old Motorhead and have some fun. Yeah.
Having been a part of this city, I'm a native San Antonian as well, and I, even in my history, have seen kind of how the metal scene has transitioned, and changed. Not only the scene itself, but the music has changed, the code has changed, the genres have changed. What's your take on that? I mean, having even a longer history than I, and actually being involved in the music scene, when you think about San Antonio now, what do you see as different? Not necessarily in a bad way, not necessarily in a good way, just what's different now?
The buzz about local bands, or regional bands.
Think San Antonio's spoiled now?
I don't know. I don't know if I put it like that. It seems like the venues that are the hot spots are just kind of, there's only a couple of them that are more concentrated. Whereas back when, we had more choices, to go see the original, live music. I think the enthusiasm is what I'm not seeing. That's the big difference. I mean, the bar was set pretty high back then. It was an awesome scene. But yeah, that would be the first difference I noticed. I mean, and I can't pretend that I'm well versed on the local talent and the local bands. There seems to be many younger bands out on the scene now. But as far as I know, I just don't. And I have a guitar school, so I get younger students. I kind of have my ear to the ground to some extent with the younger bands, but I just that, like I said, it's just I don't know. That's just one little tiny difference. I could go on all day, but yeah, certainly the enthusiasm seems to be at a different level.
Now, for people who will see this interview around the world, if they want to get more information on you or KARION, where can they go online?
Oh, they can go to Facebook and go to the KARION fan page there.
Is that /KARION?
I think it's /KARION1 with the number 1, I believe. Yeah, that's it.
So Facebook is the primary?
Yeah, also Reverb Nation. We have a page on Reverb Nation. They can pick up the CD on cdbaby.com, Amazon, a number of other iTunes. You get the downloads there. BigCartel.com if you want to get the hard copies. We may or may not put out some vinyl later. That would be ideally what I'd like to do, is get this out on vinyl eventually. But this is the test run here at CD.
Purple vinyl.
Heck yeah. Purple.
That'd be killer.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Or orange vinyl.
Oh yeah, let's try that.
Art, it's been my pleasure, sir. Great interview. Thank you for sharing, only things that you could share with us and the fans around the world who want to know about KARION and know about you and what you've been doing because of your longevity in music. I wish you all the best. I hope and pray that the KARION shows will happen. So I hope that you will make them happen somehow or some way. Chris, Pete, Frank, everybody out there, please, do this because the fans of San Antonio and Austin definitely want it to happen. So Art, before we let you go, any last words that you want to share with people out there?
I'd like to express my gratitude to the fans that have bought the CD so far and that have sustained interest in this band for so long. The fans in Germany, Greece, Italy, France, Laurent from Snake Pit Magazine. I want to give him a mention because his PR really helped. Chris Liebengut has been a very instrumental in helping me get this out. All the other people that were involved in this, Felipe Machado, who did the artwork on the cover, I'd like to thank him, and he's in Colombia somewhere. He's watching this. And then Tony Jungweber in Iowa to finish the layout. I'd like to thank him. But yeah, mainly the fans who've supported us so far, and I hope you enjoy this album, and I hope to bring you more about this band later, some more news, hopefully coming real soon. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Rob, for having me. It's great to do an interview here in my hometown, finally. See some interest expressed here, and it's great. I'm just really happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
It's my pleasure, Art, and thank you for taking the time to doing this here at the MetalWorks. Remember, everyone out there, you can pick up the KARION demos that have been very rare, but now they are out and about under the title Iron Shadows. Be sure to look for it online. Go buy it. You saw Art Villarreal of KARION SA Slayer only right here on Rob's MetalWorks.